welcome to today's AgriCompo North America WASDE 360. We are featuring Sterling Smith, who is the Director of Ag Research, and Brooke York, who is the Director of Producer Services. Before we start, I want to share with you an invite to an upcoming event that we have. We're very excited about this.
We do have a lot of cool things happening, and of course, June 30th, if you're on here, if you are an agent, I know back in the old days, pre-COVID, what we used to do is we talked about getting a lot of farmers together around the table, maybe having coffee and donuts. I don't know if it's coffee and donuts or lunchtime food this time, but June 30th report, it never disappoints if you like volatility. And we're going to talk a little bit about how the numbers released today in the WASDE 360 are going to impact the balance sheet. Of course, June 30th, we've got acreage to consider. So the last major acreage report we had was March 31st. I think we're going to see big changes in the June 30th report. We'll hold that to another day. Today, I want to set the stage for this WASDE report that comes out. Sterling's got some information that tells us this usually isn't a big change report, but let's very quickly set the stage for what we might we see how it affects things overall. So we're in the middle of a big equation here, and there's a lot of variables. One of those variables, and tell me when you can see my screen, Christy and Sterling. Can you guys see it now?
Yep.
All right. This is just your old supply and demand table. We're only going to look at it for a few seconds. The number that we are looking for today, of course, this is corn. This goes back a couple of years. This is the year that we're measuring today. So this is the crop that's currently in the bin. This is the crop that's currently in the field. Okay, we're always looking out to see how the numbers change. We're looking at the carry out from the 2021 crop. Sterling, I've got it pegged at 1.4 billion on here. Any problems with that one?
Oh, I think 1.4 billion is probably somewhere within the range of expectations for today's report. That number, it's much like the acreage number from March. We're going to be dependent on what we get on acreage in June, and we have a burgeoning weather situation here that could change that number dramatically and probably not make it larger.
So where we're at right here, when we get this number today, it's only one variable in a much bigger equation that we really will not know the answers to until after the crop year's over. However, it's one step closer. We get a better idea. This 1.4 billion, assuming that's what happens today, gets thrown into our beginning stocks area for next year. And of course, June 30th, the video that you just saw, we'll learn a little bit more about planted acres this year. So if you remember, March 31st, Sterling, remind me, 91 and change. Is that what the USDA said for planted acres on March 31st?
Yes,
it's going to go higher. I think we all know it's going to go higher. It's a matter of how high. We'll manipulate this number a little bit on June 30th. The next number is the yield. And I'm just going to punch a couple of numbers for fun right here. And Sterling, then it's all yours to tell us about what the history of this WASDE report does. Check out this yield. At 180 bushels, we can actually build some stocks. Now, this is extremely high. There's other variables in there that we don't want to talk about, like exports, domestic demand. But just to kind of put this into consideration, what happens if we were at 170 bushels nationwide? That's a huge difference. Huge, 900 million bushels, probably more realistic of a 700 million bushel swing overall when everything's factored in. But the bottom line is, Sterling, what is that, $1.50 to $2 difference in corn price overall?
Easily. It could even be more. Right now, there's some hard science out there that's made its first crop yield estimates for the year, and it's sitting at 174.
Yeah. So, you know, this is going to be a big number.
We're as good as we're going to get right now for crop conditions.
We look at soybeans, another one, Can acres reach 90 million? Here's what we know. We know ending stocks are small. We don't know where they're at, but they're small. They're not probably less than 100 million, probably not more than 150 million, however the cookie crumbles. We're using 121 in this estimate. The big thing is June 30th report, like Christy mentioned. We're going to get a better insight into where planted acres are at. Can we reach 90? I don't know, but just to kind of give you an idea, at 90, which would probably be the high water mark, in my opinion, the difference on beans, and this is what's pretty amazing. When you walk into a bean field, at least for me, I can walk into a bean field on September 15th. I can walk into a bean field 2 days before they're harvested, and I can't tell you within 5 bushel of what they're going to make. We're starting to measure these beans in half bushel increments nationwide. So we're getting down to nitpicking at 48. What's it do to carry out? That's not good. Sterling, that can't happen, can it?
That cannot. That means something's going to have, it means exports or something's going to have to change to make that number positive.
Has to give.
Yep.
This is what's pretty amazing. Yeah. So you've got to start to manipulate this usage category, which we won't even get into on this one. I just wanted you to have an idea of how this carryout number that we're going to monitor today can have a big effect. Sterling, tell us about the history of the June report when it comes to WASDE. What are we looking for today?
Typically with the June report, and I'm going to share my screen here real quick so we can see the history of this. And right here is the history of corn. Typically, the net change overall is historically we've cut ending stocks on new crop by 140,000 bushels an acre. They are not going to change yield or acres on this report, I don't think. The acreage is too big of a question, and yield, it's really pretty early to be making any sort of adjustments on the USDA side. One thing that they can do is they can increase exports. They can increase them for old crop. They probably won't do anything with new crop, but that can change this number. So we could have a potentially bullish cut here right now. Last month we were at 15, one spot 507. So if we cut it a little bit, that 1.4 number comes into play. Personally, I'm of the opinion they're not going to do anything with it this time around. I think we are going to be looking at a big acreage report, and I think the July WASDE is going to be a true history maker in terms of setting up for volatility. Now, when we look at soybeans here, it's kind of the same story. Net change, not much, 0.45. So not really even moving the needle at all with the soybeans. Now, the wheat is a completely different animal here. We could definitely see, there is a track record of making some big adjustments on wheat numbers in the WASDE for this month. And I'm going to pop that up here real quick here. And So if we look at wheat ending stocks here, last time around we were at 774. This time around, see where we land, but I do think there could be some cuts here, and they could potentially be fairly aggressive.
Now, so you talk about these cuts right here. Are we seeing any protein switches in regards to feed, Sterling? Is that the primary reason we might be cutting this wheat? Are we seeing rations increase on wheat?
I don't think you're increasing or messing with your rations very much on wheat, certainly not here in the U.S. There's been a little bit of that reported in Europe. I think the problem is going to be weather, and we're going to be looking at a spring wheat crop that may have some issues. That, I think, that would be one of the biggest early concerns here, is that we are going to see spring wheat yields cut and cut dramatically. We may not see them on this report. We may not see them until the August report. But that is one of the big balls that's in play, and that could be something where we saw that rain and that knocked Minneapolis back a little bit. We could certainly potentially see those numbers move back in, where we are looking, at wheat prices pushing 8, 9, maybe even double digits up in Minneapolis, if the heat really continues. So we're
Well,
about
Sterling, we're a couple minutes out, and I don't know if you've got the markets pulled up there in front of you. Could you give us a quick update of where we're trading currently?
Let's see here. Let me swing. Can you see this? Can you see the spreadsheet coming over? Here, I'll
Not
just give you
yet.
a quick update. Right now, old crop corn's up about 13. New crop is up about 6. We're trading at 6.16. New crop beans are up 2 1/4. And wheat right now is up about 4.5 in Kansas City, 6.5 in Minneapolis, and sharply unchanged in Chicago. Overall, the markets are feeling pretty good about things. We did set a new record high, intraday high on the S&Ps earlier today. So the money is flowing and the money's willing to play ball. So we'll see here. We're about 50 seconds away from the report right now. You can see my clock up here, and the corn, let's see, soybean ending stocks are right there. So keep an eye on that. And the corn number is right there where my pointer is. And we should be coming out here in about 40 seconds.
Sterling, as I look at these and we talk about how this is just one component of the overall situation that we're in, it seems like this crop, as far as conditions are going to be, they're going to be under the spotlight week on week more so than they've ever been. And I know that you've got valid concerns about Nebraska, parts of South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota. I think
and Iowa.
Is it safe to say we're okay for the moment, but we're just kind of living on a prayer, so to speak, as far as those next rains on the forecast?
Well, it's like driving in the desert. We've got that much gas, but who knows where the next gas station is. And boom,
go.
Here's our report. 13.57 on corn, which is quite bullish. Corn is up 13.5 cents. Come down here to the soybeans. We're at 155. They actually pushed that higher. Soybeans are up about 6 cents. And wheat ending stocks came in 770. Not all that, not a big change there. And we are seeing prices, we're up about 10 cents there. So right now, the corn number, a little bit of a surprise, and we'll have to break down the report a little bit more in detail to see exactly, what moved this. My guess is, though, that they changed the export numbers a little bit. I'm going to pull those up on my other screen right now.
While you're pulling those up, we had a release of the corn estimate by CONAB down in Brazil earlier this morning. A little bit off of expectation again. I think came in with a 96 number there. So it just kind of confirms the fact that there's a problem. It does look as if maybe it's stabilized somewhat. There were some estimates maybe as low as 89 or 90. I've seen some private estimates. So a little bit better there. But tell us about exports here, Sterling.
And I'm getting to the WASDE report here right now. Busy day on the USDA website here. And let's see, U.S. wheat supply. And corn. And the big change here, we're at 13.57. Exports were left the same. We did cut beginning stocks, so they did mess around with last year's crop and adjust things a little bit. And it looks like we increased ethanol a little bit. That was one item that they pushed up, and that accounts for most of the change, actually. So right now, the export number 24, 2.45, and we're still at 2.45. So no big changes there.
So Sterling, as we look at this, obviously it looks as if these old crop carryouts. I don't want to say that there can't be a significant change, but it seems like the market has somewhat settled in, and now we're about 3 full months left in the crop year or the fiscal year here. It looks like we've kind of settled into a range that we can assume is going to stay with us there. So as we look ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, I would think the ending stocks number probably is not going to change very much going forward, simply because the only components or the beginning stocks to carry in is not going to change very much, simply because the only thing that can really change are going to be any export numbers or maybe a little bit of domestic use, which is the one thing that can kind of move the ball around a little bit. So
So I'm
And
gonna
again,
put you under the gun here, and we're gonna ask Sterling. That's usually the quote I like to use here, but we're gonna throw yields out the window because it's much too early to even make that call. But we're watching three things. I'm gonna give you three things, Sterling, and I want you to tell me which one are top priorities over the next 3 months. And weather and yield are not in there. Number one, June 30th acreage report. That's one that you get to choose from. June 30th acreage report that's out there. Number two, political strife / drama when it comes to China over the next 3 months. And number three, any projected acreage situations that we're going to see for South America and or, of course, former Soviet Union's on the kind of the same schedule we are from a weather pattern. So we'll say South America. Those three things, what do we need to watch the most?
we need to be concerned about that acreage report. The Chinese situation, I don't see that changing. They're making the hogs are going to be hungry, the hogs have to be fed, they're in here buying the corn. I don't see that changing materially over the next 90 days for either the grains or, for that matter, cotton as well. I don't see that on the table. I think we need to pay attention to what's going on in Europe. And again, I can't talk about weather and yields. Those are going to be the next biggest things that we're going to be following, and that can make these markets awfully mean. As far as acreage in South America, we can be pretty safe in assuming they're going to plant everything in Brazil they can plant and then some. They're going to be very aggressive, but that won't be starting until September. So
right.
That leaves us June and August, and we need to think about the weather.
So we got this crop situation, and I want everybody to know this on the call, and their farmers to know that if they're listening in meetings, that this situation will gradually be fixed. It's just a matter of how long it takes. It obviously is not going to be a single crop year fix. We're seeing that right now. I think it's safe to say even if corn acres came in at 96 and bean acres come in at 90. We don't really fix the problem. We probably solidify the overall situation, but we don't fix it. It's going to take a couple different crop years and a couple different continents to do that. As I look around the United States, we're doing this virtual crop tour right now, and I've joked around to Christy and Sterling, and I don't think that we put anything out there that's of objective trading value. I wouldn't take the virtual crop tour and put your kid's college fund in a short corn position or anything like that. But here's something that I want everybody to kind of understand. I don't ask for the best pictures across the country. I ask for something that's realistic. And it would certainly, I'd certainly draw these conclusions from talking to multiple farmers across the country. Number one, it would seem like we've got much fewer prevent plant acres than we've had over the last 2 years, significantly. We may get back down to sub 2 million corn and bean prevent plant, which is a big deal. We talked about that in the third Thursday marketing meeting. The second thing, it would appear at this moment, I'm not looking at forecasts, that we still have a potential for a trend line, maybe slightly above yield with what we're seeing out there at the moment. If we just look at the crop right now, to Sterling's point, and as I talk to Sterling, he's in a different part of the country than I am. Sterling's from Omaha, Nebraska. He's broadcasting there. I'm from Southern Illinois. I want the rain to stop. I would give Sterling 2 or 3 inches of the rain that we got in the last 7 days here. He needs the rain. He sees something a little different. And if I look across here, I see Autumn's name on here. I see a lot of folks that are kind of down more in the primary corn belt, central, southern corn belt. And you guys know that we've got adequate moisture to excess moisture in a lot of places. I think the crop looks pretty good. Sterling can see some of those storm clouds on the horizon. And things can change in a hurry in Nebraska, can't they, Sterling?
Things are progressing. We had managed to get ourselves out of last year's drought. We're beginning to see that return. We have not had any decent rain here in quite a while now. I usually, if we get a good rain, I get a little ponding in my backyard. That's not happening. Right now, there's pretty good topsoil moisture and pretty good middle soil moisture. That's okay, but that is going to start getting depleted, especially here when we start getting more vegetative growth in these plants. These plants get bigger. And if we don't see the rain, and I'm talking, we don't need a huge amount of rain, but we need to see something. And right now that is not in the forecast, and that's all the way from Kansas City all the way to the Canadian border. That one blast rain we got up in the Dakotas, you look at the 10, 15-day forecasts, there isn't any rain in there. And all of a sudden now we're getting to the 4th of July, we're starting to talk about pollination, and we're going to be getting a situation where if it doesn't start to get a little bit of rain here soon, we're going to have a problem. And that drought monitor today, you can see the spread going on. And if you read today's export report, which, by the way, export sales were not good, as you can see on my screen here, that drought is really beginning to spread and starting to show up in the northern third of Nebraska and almost all of Iowa now.
So, Sterling, I've shared my screen. Christy, can you see quotes here? I thought we'd take a look at something on here because you mentioned something pretty interesting early on. When I punched a number of 48 bushel the acre for a national average on soybean, Sterling, the carryout became negative, and that can't happen. We can't crush air. We can't export air, so to speak. If you're a farmer listening to this right now, how can something like this impact you? There is a fine line, and it's probably going to impact you in the cash market. So I'm going to talk about early harvested bushels of corn and soybeans and any old crop that you've got out there. There's not very many old crop beans, but if you're studying on beans, I think you got to be aware of something. There is a fine line between a very aggressive basis or cash price and that basis disappearing. Of course, we know harvest provides a lot of bushels in there, but in August, from a processor's standpoint, processors will not keep a plant going on a 30, 40, 60% ration. They need to run the plant at full capacity in most cases. What happens is especially in the southern belt, we're seeing basis levels creep up between 60 cents and $1 over. All right, and it looks like there's no end in sight. Here's what we've got to be careful of. In the event that they see they're going to have to ration their processing, they do not like to do that. Typically, that plant will take a 2-week hiatus, something like that. When that happens, there is no demand for that 2-week period. So that basis can literally disappear overnight. So you got to be very, very cautious on holding any old crop beans you've got almost too late. Having said that, there is a good side to that. If you happen to have beans that are going to be harvested a little bit early, the next 60 days, you want to watch those premiums or those basis levels at the elevator because they could provide you some really good opportunities. Now, overall, again, I'm gleaning this from the virtual crop tour. I think we've made a material change in a lot of places in the country where we've planted soybeans much earlier than we have in the past. So I think sometimes the first one to the fight on locking in those premiums for early beans, it will probably pay off because I think there's going to be more beans on the market a little earlier than normal over the next, at the very beginning of harvest. So taking a look at this, it looks like we're going to end this thing, Sterling. We're seeing a little bit of weakness creep into corn. We got some red numbers showing up here on the deferred months. Nearby, kind of struggling to keep our nose above water. New crop up 3. Beans, old crop weaker. And again, that's that 155 carry-in number that we're talking about, or carry-out number kind of creeping in, and we're seeing new crops sell off a little bit. Any final thoughts? Wheat's a little weaker than maybe I thought it would be. Anything you want to end this thing with?
This looks like algorithmic selling to me. This is all fund-driven. You got the bigger carry-out numbers, so naturally they're going to hit the beans. For now, it'll be very interesting to see how we're trading, 30 minutes from now or coming into the close, because I do think any break probably in soybeans probably going to get bought, and I think the world's going to move beyond this real quick and return right back to the main theme, which right now, after Chinese exports, which wasn't a big deal today, is going to be the weather.
Yeah. Well, Christy, I'll let you wrap us up. We have any questions out there from the group that you can see?
I think you got them squared away. We had asked for an update on prices, so I think we're good there. If there are any other questions, please feel free to put those in that chat box or in the Q&A. Be happy to answer those. We'll stay on for just a few more minutes here, make sure that there isn't anything else going on. I will go ahead and share with you just a few things real quick, just to let you know what we've got. Of course, we have our market call that we do every day. I believe this week you're getting to hear Brooks, which is a lot of fun. Sterling always has great information, so he's doing it other weeks as well, so please tune in. If you're not receiving any of these services, please let us know. Shoot us an email to marketinginfo@sompointernational.com, and we will get you signed up for all of these services. Also, you will see that in the chat box. I put our email in there. So I don't know why it won't advance for me, because it's not. Oh, there we go. Our next Third Thursday meeting will be next Thursday. Yay. Again, please sign up if that's something you're interested in joining us on. It's just a live webinar, and we've got Brooks and Sterling and Mike, and they're all going to have some great information for you, again, leading up to that June 30th acreage report. We also have our virtual crop tour taking place. We're just full of exciting things. You just don't want to miss what we've got going on in this marketing group. So make sure you're receiving all of this information. Again, just a reminder of the June 30th and our email. So if there's anything we can do to help you, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Let us know what we can do to help you and your producers. If you're an agent, and producers, if you have questions, please reach out to your agents and they will get in touch with us. Or again, just reach out to us directly and we'll be happy to help you with whatever questions you have. I'm not seeing any more questions come into the chat box here, guys. So, but we have said we would stay on till 11:15. Is there anything else you guys want to provide for the good of the order?
You know, I'll pass this along. As I do these virtual crop tours, I really like to get the pictures and the comments out there. If you're on here and you would like to shoot a picture and some comments on what's going on in your neck of the woods, we'd love to hear them. Christy, can you update us with that? Is it marketinginfo@sompo-intl.com that they would need to send those to?
That is it exactly. Marketinginfo, INFO, @sompo, SOMPO, and then a hyphen, INTL.com.
Very good. Very good.
Well, we hope to have you all join us next month when we have our July WASDE. We'll get you information on that. Be watching our social media, plus our daily market outlook, and we will get the link in there very soon. But we just don't want to miss you for the next two meetings, the June 17th, third Thursday, and the June 30th acreage report, which will be a very important report. You don't want to miss that. Guys, thank you so much for joining us, and you all have a great day.